Cigars and Price for Thursday, October 18th, 2025, and we are a presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota dealer studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Cigars alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches, conducting things alongside interns Graciela Cruz Flores and Elijah Ford. We'll hear from Elijah today, heard from Graciela yesterday. On a very busy Thursday in the world of sports, where the Vancouver Canucks get back at it after a 2-day layoff, begin a 5-game road trip in Texas, where the Blue Jays and Mariners contest Game 4 of the American League Championship Series. Couple baseball games on tonight. Thursday night football as well, with a division rivalry, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, and of course heading into an extremely busy weekend in the world of sports, and particularly locally here, where the Whitecaps can lock up first place in the MLS West and where the BC Lions can move a step closer to a home playoff date.
Everything is happening. Now, 2 games left in Seattle for the Jays. I mean, does it really matter which order a Jays win comes in? To the watchful eye, evening up a series at 2-2 feels a lot better than going down 3-1 and then winning to make it 3-2 heading home. But all they do need is a split, Matt. And then, like, honestly, if they're down 3-2 going back to Toronto, are you that down on them sweeping a 2-game set? At any other point in the season, you have a 2-game set against somebody in your home park. Yes. You've got a very realistic chance/hope of sweeping that 2-game set.
Yes. No, it's not must-win for the Blue Jays tonight, but it's close to it.
You got to win one of these two. It's always better to get it out of the way.
I honestly feel like there's some pressure on the Mariners tonight. It's a big crowd looking to party last night, and you jumped out to the early lead, and then you let them down pretty hard early in the ball game.
It's a lot of pressure on them because they know that if they can win this one, they set up an elimination game in their park tomorrow.
That's right.
They would love to have that.
Yes. Because, as we mentioned earlier in the week, the Seattle Mariners have never been one win away from the World Series. The previous League Championship Series they've participated in, they won a maximum 2 games. Did so twice. Mm-hmm. So this would be the closest Seattle has ever been to the World Series stage. I mean, a 50-year-old franchise and the only one in Major League Baseball to never make it to the Championship Series. So it brings us to our Redwoods Golf Course poll question. Who's on your main screen tonight? Canucks? Blue Jays? Depends on the score. You can vote at the Cigars and Price X and YouTube channels. I am being admonished for not having Blue Jays / Mariners.
Yeah. Like, we've got a huge constituency here that are Mariners fans. You have to...
It's not huge. It's not huge.
It is huge. It's sizable. It might be the minority, but it's still huge.
When I moved to Vancouver 18 years ago, I was told it's kind of 50-50 contested territory here, Blue Jays and Mariners. I think that was a little favorable. I think it was more Blue Jays than Mariners, but I don't dispute that it was reasonably close. The Blue Jays were going through a fallow period. At one time, they were the franchise that had the longest postseason drought. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. In the Big Four sports. But then 2015, 2016 came along. And, of course, very engaging Blue Jays teams with Joey Bats and Edwin Encarnacion. Alex Anthopoulos went out and made all those trades to load up that team in 2015 with David Price and Troy Tulowitzki and Ben Revere and others. And it was a dramatic series in the ALDS, which they won with the bat flip. Came back the next year, another dramatic series wins with Eddie walking the parrot. And I think, and Rob Williams has spoken to us on this, Blake, and this is something that he and the Daily Hive folks track a fair bit. I think that brought a lot of baseball fans over to the Blue Jays side of the ledger. Now, should say, Seattle with that amazing comeback in Game 2 of the wild card series. These two teams played 3 years ago. They have the bragging rights right now in terms of postseason success, head to head. I think it's more a dormant Mariners crowd that rises up when the team is good. I think it's a more consistent.
Such is the case for them in their own city. Even.
Oh, for sure. Like ownership and management was not in good graces in that town for many, many years, including the last couple. You remember Cal Raleigh 2 years ago, Blake, basically called them out. Said, what's the difference between us and Houston? Look, they're spending money on the field. What I will say, and I know we hear this from Mariners fans all the time, is you are now a quarter century into Rogers' ownership of the Toronto Blue Jays and putting every single game outside of the YouTube and Apple. Yeah, I mean, there's a few odd ones that aren't on basic Canadian cable coast to coast. I do think a quarter century in that has had the desired effect of turning more people from coast to coast in this country into Blue Jays fans. And yes, it has come at the expense of Mariners fans here in the province of British Columbia. And yes, the Mariners games not being as readily available on television, I think, has also hurt the numbers of Mariners fans in our province and in the lower mainland and the South Coast. Fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah, I think it's fair. I think they're a couple of wins away from maybe changing the ratios just a little bit going forward at the very least. But can you tell the Canucks are 1-2 and have not looked very good? We are 7 minutes into the program.
Well, we've mentioned the Canucks. We're going to get to
We've
the
said
Canucks.
the
They're
word.
our top story.
We've said
yes,
the word
always
Canucks.
Our top story.
My goodness.
To answer the question, it's Game 4 of the regular season versus Game 4 of the ALCS. My focus will be on the Blue Jays, and much like Monday was easy because it was an Amazon stream game. I just fired it up after. Be watching. I'll catch up with the Canucks watch on. Record it and watch it after.
I'll have two screens going, and I will default to the Canucks on the main screen. But if drama is one place and not in the other, then I will make the change.
Like, as you know, I like to laser focus. I have avoided the multi-screen. I'm not great with half attention here and half attention there. I don't like that. I feel like I've not watched either game when I do that.
I've already been under a lot of scrutiny for the amount of sports I've been watching. I don't think I can carve out 6 hours of television watching today.
Now, here's what I will say. Depends on the score is a very useful option here.
Yeah.
Because I can absolutely see Canucks fans, if it's 3-0 Dallas after a period, saying, to hell with this, I can't deal with it.
Well, on both fronts.
To the baseball game, and same as, let's face it, the last two games have not been close in the ALCS. And if we have another blowout early, I suspect people will be looking for other things to entertain them and get on over to the Canucks.
If current form holds, you're going to be flipping to one and one only.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is it's a pity that these games are starting at. Canucks are at 5, Blue Jays start at 5.
Yeah, they're overlapping. If one of them's at home, if the Canucks are at home or Seattle's, it's just a regular game, they're starting at 7:30, of course.
Yes. And I couldn't help but lapse into my old ways last night on X with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, dragging patriotism into it.
Trollio.
Yeah. As I said, my son said, "Why am I a Blue Jays fan? I've only
because
been to
you're
Mariners
a Canadian
games,
son.
But
You're
he's only
Canadian
attended
son.
Mariners games. There are
very few things that unite our country from St. John's to Tofino: healthcare, hockey, and the Toronto Blue Jays."
Have you seen the Expos documentary yet?
I have not. No. Is it on Netflix?
It's coming or on. I can't remember if it's dropped yet.
I want to look. I want to watch that. It was so easy back in the day. You could root for both Canadian teams because never shall they meet unless it's the World Series, right? So I used to cheer Expos and Blue Jays.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I'll say, much like we've seen here in Vancouver, where I think a lot of basketball fans ultimately got over the NBA moving our team to Memphis, I have been astonished because, having been born and brought up some in the province of Quebec in Montreal, it is very much a myopic society there. Like, it doesn't tend to see out, certainly on the French Canadian side. And of course, they have a great, Quebec television, radio, magazines is a booming business, always has been, as they search out content chez nous, as they'd say. I have been stunned, Blake, at the number of baseball fans in La Belle Province that have come over to the Blue Jays side of the ledger.
Yeah.
Remember they did those exhibition games there when Vladdy was a young player, and they packed the Olympic Stadium for an exhibition game?
Oh, I talked to the CF Montreal crew a lot this year when I was doing Montreal games, and they all keep track of what's going on with the Blue Jays.
But here's the other thing. The games are on in French there.
Yeah.
No, it has been a very concerted and multifaceted effort from the Blue Jays over the years to make Canada writ large its market, to the point where even like Major League Baseball super agent Scott Boras has talked about this in the past. The Blue Jays have as big or bigger a market than any team in baseball. New York's a contested market, 2 teams. As big a area as the tri-state area is, Mets, Yankees, and further east and north you go, there's even bleed into New England and Red Sox nation.
Or south to Philly.
South to Philly, absolutely. Chicago, contested market, 2 teams. L.A., contested market, 2 teams. And even one down in San Diego.
And also a blasé L.A. market that you got to show me.
I'm not sure they're so blasé about the Dodgers now, but I hear what you're saying. Whereas with the Blue Jays, you could argue it's a 40 million person market, coast to coast. And it's not just been the television distribution, though that has helped. Drive around our city. Look at some of the baseball diamonds for youth baseball, Little League, and whatnot. The Blue Jays have made concerted efforts into investing into baseball across Canada. There are kids today who play on terrific ball diamonds because of the investment from the Jays charitable arm.
Well, it also helps that they're owned by a big national company that wants to
sell wireless out here. Yes, that too.
That wants to flaunt the relationship between the two and the co-ownership.
And cell phones and cable and everything that they sell out here. And frankly, in our market specifically, the association with the Vancouver Canadians has helped tremendously.
Yeah, Tuesday for the Netflix documentary, by the way, on the Expo.
You go to Nap Bailey, Blake, on any given night, it is a wash. Blue Jays hats and Blue Jays shirts. They have forged that bond over the years. Of course, once upon a time with Jake and Jeff, Jake Kerr, Jeff Mooney owning the Vancouver Canadians with Andy Dunn running it. And look, it's been sold. Andy has moved on, and Alan Bailey and Walter Cosman have done a sensational job of running the Vancouver Canadians and keeping those ties that bind so strong. So a lot of fun here. Tons of fun here in the world of sports. Looking forward to it. And tons of fun out at the Redwoods Golf Course. And I say that because they have the heated and covered driving range. You can go out and practice in any kind of weather. They have a fairway bunker, for heaven's sakes. Very few practice facilities have a fairway bunker you can practice out of. And right now they are offering those private and semi-private junior lessons for children ages 6 to 16. Set your kids up for the sport of a lifetime. You can go to redwoods-golf.com/instruction. If you're planning a big event, whether it's corporate, team building, networking, what have you, they do custom corporate packages. It involves lessons if you'd like. And of course, it involves food and bev if you'd like as well. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Adam Foote goes back to the drawing board, serves up some surprises, even from his post-practice comments Tuesday. Canucks into Dallas tonight to kick off a 5-game road trip, and Elias Pettersson has new wingers in Connor Garland and Drew O'Connor.
Okay.
Foote had mused after practice Tuesday that he was looking at putting Garland with Pettersson and even said Evander Kane. But he didn't go there. So just before you jump all over this, because I know you're ready to jump all over this.
I'm not. Go ahead.
You're a little jumpy. Remember what Alain Vigneault used to always tell us, Coach, what do you like about Alex Burrows with the Twins? And I'm talking about in the early days before Alex Burrows had turned into a 30-goal scorer and just the perfect line mate triplet for the Twins. But in those early days, Vigneault said to us, I like that Alex gets them playing with more pace, because Burrows was an up and down pacey winger. And of course, Hank and Danny were not those sorts of players. They were more half-court oriented, and that brought out some of their transition game, which of course helped lead to MVPs for Hank and Danny. One from the writers, one from the players, and turned them into the best line in hockey. Drew O'Connor has pace, Blake. And we talked about needing a digger. We talked about needing a puck retriever for Olys. So I'm open-minded on this. I want to see how it looks. I was a little surprised to see that this morning for a morning skate. But I think there's a chance, and heck, it works. Even if Drew O'Connor is not going to be a finisher, I think we can all understand that.
I'm not saying it's a never try. I won't say that I know that it won't work. We can be surprised. But I will say that if you're looking for a guy with speed, a guy who's physical, and a guy who's shown that he can put the puck in the net, do the Canucks have that player? Yeah, they do. Name's Kiefer Sherwood. So why wouldn't you go with the guy who has already proven that he can do all that, rather than the guy who has never scored at the pace that Kiefer Sherwood has over the last year and a half?
Sherwood has played mostly right wing. Drew O'Connor has played mostly left wing. Does that...
for certain coaches, that's going to be a deal breaker. For me, it does not. There's plenty of wingers that can flip-flop.
Yes, that is fair.
So I would have given that a try, especially considering, again, Sherwood's going. Sherwood's seen the puck get behind goaltenders this season.
I'm just looking
that
at
helps.
this, though. Sherwood's played as much or more on the left side. Okay. Brock Boeser and Jake DeBrusk, the former line mates of Elias Pettersson, on what was a loaded-up top line and made the Canucks very easy to match up against because they just didn't have enough depth of scoring spread through the top nine. They moved to the, can we call it the second line? With Philip Chytil. Evander Kane joins Aatu Ratu and the aforementioned Kiefer Sherwood as Foote breaks up the line that was going so well with Arshdeep Bains on that left wing. So he's making room for Evander in the top nine. Bains drops down to join Max Sasson, who's making his season debut. Ditto for Linus Karlsson on the right wing.
I'm happy for Karlsson.
Who's in for Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Lekkerimäki, one of two Vancouver Canucks alongside Aatu Ratu, has not been scored on at even strength this year. And you wonder whether they'll miss his one-shot goal scoring after getting just 8 goals in 3 games.
He does only have one, if I'm not mistaken. So
but he's amongst your top 3 most gifted scorers, and the team needs goals, and you're scratching him, and he hasn't been scored on at even strength.
Hey, don't love it, but riddle me this.
Mm-hmm.
Given that nothing's been going for anybody over the last couple of games, I think putting Karlsson in is a reasonable expectation. Lekkerimäki doesn't play center, so you have to put Sasson in. Who comes out? Like who realistically deserves to come out over the next guy? Nobody's really going. Nobody's been so terrible. I would be tempted to say Bains, but the underlying stats for Bains are still pretty decent. So
which we'll get to here.
He's responsible, and the coach likes that. So I think it's just elimination. This is less about what Lekkerimäki hasn't done versus what he would still like to see out of the guys that are in the
So-
lineup.
So Foote also told us, we'll harken back to this, when asked about his team identity, he said he wants it to be adaptable. And he previewed this for us. He said, against certain teams, we're going to want to play a certain way.
Yeah.
And of course, that extends to personnel as well. So we're going to play heavy teams differently than we play speedy teams. We're going to play defensive teams a little different than we play the offensive juggernauts. And so you wonder whether he just likes something or dislikes something about the matchup of Jonathan Lekrimaki versus Dallas.
And he's just young. This is a savvy veteran team that has been to the wars, won them, most of them.
Yep.
And not that Linus Karlsson is Gandalf the Grey next to Jonathan Lekrimaki, but
he's 25 versus
he's
21.
played a few more years of pro hockey.
Yep.
He has seen more stuff.
And of course, game tomorrow in Chicago back to back. So if it's about fresh legs, I can understand that too. But yes, he has opened himself to criticism with what he has done here. The O'Connor piece, the non-Sherwood piece, as you talk about the Lekrimaki scratch. We'll see. Max Sasson, as mentioned, making his season debut, played 29 games for the Vancouver Canucks last year, scored 7 points, turned 25 last month, and will center that fourth line with Teddy Bluger still not ready to come back, and Braden Coots now in the WHL with his Seattle Thunderbirds. Linus Karlsson, also 25. He played 23 games. It was 23? Yeah, 23 games for the Vancouver Canucks last season. Mostly as a depth winger, but he did wind up getting some top six run and then became a Calder Cup hero, right, for the Abbotsford Canucks as they marched to the AHL championship. Nice story from Ben Kuzma in the Province today about Linus Karlsson. Said all the right things about how it sucked to sit there and watch, but he's got to stay positive and bide his time. He is no longer waiver exempt, unlike Sasson. And so he is looking at a season, Blake, that I think you're going to, if he cannot establish himself as a lineup staple each and every night, I think he's looking at a lot of nights in the NHL press box, because I don't think they're going to risk sending him down unless things get really terrible for him.
And tonight, I don't mind where he's put in for his debut. That's fine. But given what they did for Baines and gave him a lofty chance, given that nobody's been able to get EP40 going as well, like I hope that they do give him one top six opportunity. Like his scoring touch in the American Hockey League over the last 18 months is unparalleled. There's nobody in his class in his goal scoring rate.
37 goals in the AHL last year in just 57 games.
So I would love to see him with some big time players. And again, I'm not saying he's going to be an NHL star.
Doesn't move his feet as well as Baines, but probably better in the net front and along the walls.
There's been a lot of imperfect NHL goal scores. And again, I don't think he's going to be a 30-30 guy getting you 60 points. But might he be a 25-goal, 11-assist kind of guy, like one of those guys that exist in the league? Like Victor Olofsson, something like that? Like, yeah, something like that. That's possible, I think, for a guy like Linus Karlsson. But you need to be given some opportunity, either power play or top 6 minutes, to see if that is indeed the guy that he's going to become. And again, not tonight, that's fine. But I hope before they give up on this player, they have given him that shot at the very least.
26 years old, 1 month from today, also played 23 NHL games last year and managed 6 points. He had played a handful of NHL games the previous year as well, Linus Karlsson. Thatcher Demko to start versus ex-Canuck Casey DeSmith, his once-upon-a-time backup. In fact, both of those guys started games in the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs against Nashville. Neither of them won the series. And this, as Demko is named to the USA Hockey preliminary Olympic list. Boeser made that too after both were left off the long list alongside Lane Hudson this summer. I noticed USA Hockey didn't put out a release on that. Frank Saravelli reported it.
I think it's a live document up until a certain point for an association. I don't think it's in line necessarily.
But in what world were Thatcher Demko, Lynn Hudson, and Brock Besser not under consideration before today or recently?
But the fact that all three of
them...
You
published a list in the summer. You didn't have these three guys on it.
And none of these three guys were invited to their camp, their orientation camp.
Where there was no on-ice work.
No.
It was just bonding.
But it was just a little weird. I mean, they were a ton of guys anyway. You have to arbitrarily draw a line somewhere, but for those three guys to be omitted, pretty odd.
Well, I'm sitting here starting to wonder if the U.S. Olympic team is being run by Keegan Bradley. Bill Guerin, Keegan Bradley. Not tons to like in U.S. team leadership these days. Makes Den Beyond Sports as well. Dallas is 3-0. One of only two undefeated teams in the NHL. They'll play without Matt Duchene tonight. He was shaken up, being scratched for precautionary reasons. Of course, Duchene, he who would have been a Canuck had he got to free agency, right? Rutherford and Alvin were prepping the huge offer for Matt Duchene to come in and be the salvation at second line center.
And again, not what he used to be.
Still a very good scorer, though.
But pretty decent in his elder years here. So between Duchene not in and Casey DeSmith, and again, full respect to Casey DeSmith, one of the better backups that you'll find in the NHL alongside Kevin Lankinen. It's a comment on what the Dallas Stars think of the Vancouver Canucks to some degree. And B, it's also an opportunity for the Vancouver Canucks is you get a detuned version of the Stars. They might still be very much good enough to beat the Vancouver Canucks, but this Dallas Stars team that they will face is a lesser team than what they could have faced.
I hear your mouth. I do wonder whether Duchene is sort of downplaying it because it's Duchene who's calling this precautionary, right?
Oh, that could be true as well.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I just wonder if he's a little more shaken up.
But the Stars with him is better than the Stars without him.
No, of course. But what I'm saying is I'm not sure that's bulletin board material for the Canucks.
No, that part is not. No.
If they want to go to the backup goalie thing, sure. But again, it's your ex-teammate who you know is pretty darn good.
Yep.
Stars undefeated, but the numbers aren't pretty, as Noah Strang, our old friend from the Daily Hive, sussed out. At even strength this year, 42% core seats, 30th in the NHL.
They've given up 10 goals, too.
Outshot 75-58. That's 27th in the NHL. Expected goals, just under 46%. That's 26th in the NHL. It's a PDO heater right now.
They might be susceptible to I mean, the Canucks have fewer goals against than they do by one. So for a Canucks team that wants to score goals, this might be an opportunity.
Yep. As JPAT notes, this is not only the start of a 5-game road trip, but the beginning of 7 games in 11 nights. You're going to see a lot of that this year, folks, because condensed schedule with the Olympic break and the league shutting down for a couple of weeks in February so the players can contest the Olympic Championship at Milano Cortina. And so after this 5-game trip, Dallas tonight, Chicago tomorrow, Washington Sunday, a 9:30 a.m. puck drop. Pittsburgh Tuesday, Nashville a week from today. They come home to a jam-packed weekend. The Montreal Canadiens here on Saturday, the 25th. That's a 4 p.m. start. Then the next night, here comes Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers into town. And, by the by, 2 nights later, the JT Miller return game against the New York Rangers.
At least it's on the road, so the Rangers might score a goal and keep it competitive.
Let's not blow this out of proportion,
right.
Blake. I understand it's a unique scenario. The Rangers haven't scored at home in 3 games. First team in the history of the National Hockey League to get shut out 3 straight off the start of a season at home.
They're in Toronto tonight, too, by the way. So
but, hey, guys, let's not blow this out of proportion. They got a new captain who's going to drag this thing out of the fire.
On my back.
By hell or high water.
Go get him, JT.
Here's the other thing I want to note. Canucks have played 9 periods this year.
Yep.
They've played 1 good one.
Yeah.
3rd period versus Calgary on the opener. They've gone through 6 straight shitty periods.
Yeah, that's why that was part of my rant the other day of why this is not looking good, why there's reason to be a little bit early in the pessimism.
Oh, my God.
1 good period out of 9. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll say this on the flip side. You want me to provide some optimistic viewpoints? Teams like Calgary, already -9 in goal differential. Ottawa, after being blown out yesterday, they're -10 in goal differential. If the Canucks win this game tonight, they're on the plus side of goal differential for the season. So, there is still very much a lot of runway, needless to say, but also, they've limited damage because of the goaltending. We said this from the outset of the season. Goaltending will limit exactly how bad this season looks.
Can I, at the risk of starting another little set two, he's concerned at 1 and 2, everybody. So
not he. The overwhelming majority of Canuck fans are at least a little bit concerned right now.
Okay, so might I just tamp everything down a little bit here with some facts, some math?
Sure.
1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So a baseball season is twice as long as a hockey season. Not quite, but almost. If a baseball team comes out of the gate 2 and 4, Blake, you're concerned?
Nope.
3 games
now
of an 82-game schedule equals about a half of football over a 17-game NFL schedule. Your team's down at the half in week 1. You're concerned about the season?
Okay, so let me ask you this. In baseball, to use your baseball analogy, you've got 2 ace starters from years gone by. 2 guys that they're going to win you 18 games minimum every season. But they both have really bad couple of years behind them. They each start with a stinker start where they give up 6 runs in the first 4 innings of work.
And we're 2 and 4 after 6.
Yeah. Are you pessimistic? I'm gonna bet there's a lot of concerned people worried about the rotation with those 2 guys doing what they're doing.
Okay. A half of football. A half of football.
A defense that has surrendered the most sacks in the league for 2 straight years, and they give up 5 sacks in the opening half.
Oh, my God.
Are you worried about the defense for the rest of the season? Yes, and you probably are.
We are down 21-7 at the half. I am panicked about the rest of the season.
And you've given up 5 sacks. Yeah. This defensive line is going to kill us. Yeah.
Okay, I will give you last word. What are our friends?
Offensive line, pardon me.
What are our friends at Yellow Dog up to?
What should I tell about? Let's just go back to the fabulous.
We're both wearing our Yellow Dog hats today.
Are.
This
we
was
are
unplanned.
towing the line here. They've got
But I'm gonna be having some tonight because I'm going out to watch the baseball game. So,
sale beer for the month of October. It's the Squirrel Chaser, hazy pale ale, 4 packs at your private and government liquor stores. We hope. There's been some striking, of course.
Derek Forbert has been placed on IR, meaning he will miss 7 days, retroactive to October 11th. So that encompasses tonight in Dallas and tomorrow in Chicago. He would be eligible to return Sunday versus Washington. The Canucks are running just 6D right now because Pierre-Olivier Joseph, I mean, unless they have made a move in the last few minutes here, Blake, that has escaped my gaze, remains on IR. You do have to make a roster move to activate Joseph off IR. Now, that could be as simple as putting Teddy Bluger on retroactive IR because the other options are not exactly desirable. Do you want to demote Lecker-Mackey or Sasson? No. I mean, you want both those guys right now. Same with EPD and Mancini on the blue line. Those are your only waiver-exempt guys. And I don't think you want to risk putting somebody on waivers like a Carlson or a Baines. So they are actually in the spot that we talked about last Thursday, Blake, and that is hope and pray that everyone gets through the morning skate. No one comes down sick. Everyone gets through the warm-up. Otherwise, you could be playing with 5 defensemen tonight.
And because of all this, if you go to Cap Wages or Puck P, whatever, the actual active live cap hit for the Canucks is the biggest in the league right now because of everybody being in their various states of IR and going right back to guys like Brisebois and Wu who are on season opening IR as well. Yeah, I think they are on the high wire right now. But you cross the bridges when you get to them. There are moves that they can make if they get into that scenario. But I would bet that Joseph is hours away. Now, whether that means today or tomorrow, I don't know. But I would bet.
So that's Teddy Bluger to IR, you would think?
Yes.
Okay. All right, small sample so far, as we've discussed. Half a football game. But anyway, in a seasonal context. But let's get to a few of them here, because Blake's reading in and extrapolating. Mm-hmm. Goals saved above expected by evolving hockey. Igor Shesterkin is number 1 for the New York Rangers. Thatcher Demko is number 2. 5.24 goals saved above expected. This is a stat that all the goalies guys look at pretty closely. Like, this is a telltale stat, right?
Now, you have to have, this is actual goals, and it gets an accumulated stat. So it's not a rate. So you need to play a lot in order to be sort of in consideration. Which says something about Demko because they haven't played 2 games so far.
Mm-hmm. Our friend Trevor Beggs of Daily Hive on Surrey's Archdeep Baines has picked out that hockey stat cards show that Baines has the best game score of any Vancouver Canuck through 3 games. It's been a decent start to the season for Archdeep Baines. There you see, 0.84 game score. Mm-hmm. Slightly better than Kiefer Sherwood. And who's messaging me here? Sherwood was Petey's most effective winger last year?
Sure was.
Mike, you have that?
Yeah, they together had 8 goals for, only 4 against.
As when Sherwood was on the PD line last year.
Yeah, whereas the top line with DeBrusk and Boeser had 5 goals for and 9 against.
In that exact combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's at even strength last year.
Even strength last year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
will concede on your point about Sherwood, Blake. Sherwood over O'Connor.
To start, I mean, again, not saying that O'Connor doesn't work, but I'm as we look at some of the Foote decisions, like I would bet most coaches would go with the more guaranteed result rather than the hope and the prayer result, which I think Drew O'Connor represents a bit of a hope and a prayer, result.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Carter Hart, the Canadian World Junior goaltender who was acquitted of sexual assault this summer in that London Superior Court alongside all his other teammates, has a new NHL home with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Just don't ask them about it.
Aiden Hill has gotten hurt there, not a ton of confidence in Akira Schmid. If you're wondering what the reference was from Blake, Mark Lazarus of The Athletic went to Vegas, earlier this month, late last month?
Late last, yeah.
Right. Because Vegas had already been tabbed as a team that was looking at some of these former Canadian World Junior players. He had the temerity to ask a Vegas Golden Knight player about
what he would think of that
What
scenario.
he would think if one of those players came into the dressing room. The player gave him your typical hockey answer.
Yeah. Nothing
and the Golden
inflammatory.
Knights lost their shit. Banned him from the press box.
Kicked him out of the practice facility.
Yeah, how dare you?
For asking the question.
That is really small-time stuff, Vegas Golden Knights. You're in the big leagues, man. I realize you don't have a ton of media there, and most of it is on board in-house.
Yeah. In our town, everybody pumps up our team.
Yeah.
And only talks about the good stuff. Okay.
So we can have a 90-minute Stanley Cup celebration and then clear the square outside of the arena.
Honestly,
just talking
2-3
about this
hours
again
after
they win the cup, it's
upset.
like It's like a ghost town around the rink. Are you kidding me?
Such snowflakes. And honestly, like if you have some courage to stand behind it and say, this is why we're doing this, X, Y, and Z. Instead, no. Just don't talk about it. Just don't admit it's happening.
Yeah.
They released a statement today, and as many have pointed out, if you have to release a statement justifying a hockey move, does that tell you a little bit about whether or not you should have made said hockey move?
Look, Kelly McCrimmon is small town. He's Brandon, Manitoba, ran the Wheat Kings forever. I'm sure you can exert influence over local media in Brandon, Manitoba.
And hey, I'm not saying Carter Hart shouldn't be able to sign anywhere, but if you're going to sign somewhere,
he absolutely should be able to sign somewhere. He was acquitted.
Stand by your decision.
You can't stand in
and
the way
don't
of
be
his...
a coward. And they can't. If you can't even stand up for why you made a decision, like honest to God.
Anyway, so Vegas trying to stem the bleeding in goal, and of course, direct competitor with the Vancouver Canucks. Although we don't see Vegas for a while here. It's usually a lot of Edmonton and Calgary early on in the season. It's usually a lot of Vegas late in the season. Have you noticed this?
Yes, it's true.
You get Calgary, Edmonton early, then you tend to roll into some San Jose's, Anaheims, and the LA Kings.
Maybe
in
the
division.
Maybe Vegas is hoping, hey, let's
some Seattle as well. Let's not forget them.
Let's limit our Canadian exposure during the NFL season.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let's not forget about Seattle here after forgetting about them on the poll question.
Mm-hmm.
First game against Vegas is the final game before the Olympic break, February 4th.
Yep.
And, of course, Vegas has had the Canucks number since they got into the league. Yeah. It's very odd. All the games...
the schedules almost repeat themselves year after year. Like it does sort of feel like
there
that.
are some through lines, no question.
It worked last season.
No
Let's just do it again.
Let's get to today's menu. It is brought to you by Greta. Fantastic spot to catch all the games, home and away. You are mere steps from the arena and the stadium, so by all means, pregame there, postgame there. Also a fantastic spot if you're booking an event. If you need a venue for team building, sociable, check out Greta. Fantastic street food. Everybody in here, the interns feasted on Saturday at the Canucks Army watch party. Mike, did you get any food on Saturday?
Street nuggets every time.
Okay.
Best.
Plus the arcade, tons of fun. For more info to book your event, gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We'll talk to Patrick Johnston here of the Province and Postmedia on the Vancouver Canucks, but really about what is a fantastic time to be a Vancouver sports fan. You've got your hockey team that started back up. Your soccer team is magnificent. Should finish first in the conference this weekend. Football team's won 4 in a row. And it's looking like it's going to pull a home playoff game out of a hat, right? We didn't think that was possible with the Lions earlier this season. We were sitting there going, oh, boy.
I didn't think it was possible 3 weeks ago.
They were closer to being a crossover team or missing the playoffs than they are to second place. They have really taken another step back after last year's step back. Here they've gone and run off a bunch. And, of course, the local baseball teams are doing fantastic. Teams of local interest. So we'll talk to Patrick a little bit about that.
Let me ask you this with the two BC Place tenants. Does the fact that both of them are white hot to finish the regular season, I mean, yeah, conventional wisdom says that's good, but it's been so prolonged now for both of those teams. I'm worried about expiration of said hot streak. This has been...
That it ends with a thud?
Right, well, right. Like eventually 12, if the Whitecaps win this week, it'll be 12 games in a row. Mm-hmm. What are we on for the Lions? It's been an unbelievable stretch of play here as well. Like eventually those hot streaks do come to an end
unless you lift trophies, Blake.
I guess you're just asking for it to last for the Whitecaps could theoretically lose a game in the best of 3, I suppose. So you don't need to win them all. But effectively, what you're asking for them is to go on a 17-game winning streak to finish the year.
When is
or unbeaten streak?
When is the MLS championship match? What's the date there?
I don't have the calendar.
Is it
for
December? It's usually early December, right?
Yeah.
And the Grey Cup is usually mid-November now. I'm just wondering if they both win trophies, do we throw a joint parade?
That'd be kind of fun.
I think it'd be great fun.
It's 4 straight wins for the Lions, 6 of 8 to finish the season now, and they've got 2 games
December
left.
6th, I think. So, yeah, December 6th, MLS Cup.
That might be too long to wait.
Yeah, it's a little long to wait. Joint parade sounds great, though.
Yeah, it would be fun.
See the tapestry of colors, orange, black, white, blue, all throughout the city.
Well, if they both did it, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but if they both did
We're
it,
daring to dream.
the Whitecaps would get the advantage of seeing how the Lions did theirs and going, okay, this worked, this didn't. Okay, let's do ours like this.
Yeah, and alas, there is no hockey precedent for the Stanley Cup parade route,
No.
unlike Montreal.
Have the Lions done, they've just done, I think they've done rallies. They've done a parade.
You typically get more rallies than parades after Grey Cups.
Yeah.
I heard a great story from a member of the Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts way back when. This was the Doug Flutie teams, where they did a parade and it went east-west in the central business district. So it crossed Yonge Street in Toronto.
Yeah.
And so Yonge Street was closed off.
Yeah.
And there were people heckling the parade and upset because they had to walk around. The parade was getting in the way of pedestrians, none of whom cared about the Toronto Argonauts.
Nowadays, that was during the Flutie years. Nowadays, when the Argos win the Grey Cup, they go to this guy's Nick's house in Etobicoke, and he's got a big basement, and they celebrate there.
Fires up the Barbie if the weather cooperates. Play some touch football in the snow on the front yard. Oh, that Nick in Etobicoke. What a fan. All right, time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I was a winner yesterday. I got the over. Yeah, I know. I got the over in that Blue Jays Mariners game. And I hate to be Johnny One Note here, but I am going back to that well, over 7.5 tonight on Jays M's. I don't really trust either starting pitcher, Castillo or Scherzer. The Seattle bullpen finally cracked last night, albeit Vargas was really the only high leverage reliever used. I mean, the Jays pen continues to cough up runs. Don't show me Ariel Rodriguez today. I'm sorry, but I can't. He gave up the 2 dingers last night, granted in garbage time, maybe pitched to the scoreboard, but he walked all 3 guys he faced in game 2. Over 7.5 runs, M's and Jays tonight, ALCS game 4.
I'm looking at the Canucks tomorrow night into Chicago.
Why tomorrow night, not tonight?
Giving people chance to
a longer leash here?
Yes, because it's an early game for today. The Blackhawks had a fabulous win. Connor Bedard is a different player these days in the early going. It's plus 120 on the Blackhawks to beat the Canucks on home ice. This is the Vancouver Canucks. It's a home game for the Blackhawks.
I think you need more than that, though.
You need more than that? Mm-hmm. You think the Canucks should be overwhelming favorites?
It's plus 120 on the Hawks?
Yeah. Have you met the Vancouver Canucks?
Well, and I realize Chicago scored all those goals last night, but...
Back-to-back nights for the Canucks, plus 120 on the Hawks. Hedge it.
The segment of presentation of Bet365, whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Oh, we didn't mention Gregg Bell's also on the show.
We should do that.
Gregg Bell, reporter with the Tacoma News-Tribune. He was our Seahawks insider for years. That is his main beat, but he has been seconded to the baseball beat. He was in Toronto for games 1. He was there last night. So we're going to talk some baseball, and we're going to talk some Seahawks football with Greg as well. But PJ is coming up next. Mm-hmm. So Carson Price from the historic Wall Center, and Blake, there's a huge baseball game tonight. There's a big hockey game tonight.
Yeah.
There's a football game tonight. It sounds like a pizza kind of night.
People think that we've got an easy job talking about sports, but they've never known the pain of being very hungry and talking about pizza on the show.
You're already that hungry, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm starving. I skipped all
Breakfast?
meals today. So to tell you about the double XL 3-topping pizza that costs just $19.99, like could scrounge the change perhaps on the couch. It's a lot for me right now.
We have interns. Do you want to dispatch them to go
the
get
couch,
lunch?
we could check. Yeah, we could tell them to examine the couch. 18-inch pizza, 8 huge slices. If you're hungry, this is the one. Go to for game viewing. Don't forget the creamy garlic dip as well.
Yeah.
Only a pizza. It's actually Canadian.
And to be clear, we never send interns out for lunch. We're not that kind of shop. In fact, we bring interns lunch and coffee. That's how we roll.
Right now they're thinking, where's
Patrick,
the lunch?
Exactly. Have we not done it yet?
Coffee.
Okay. Patrick Johnston of the Province and Postmedia he covers the Vancouver Canucks, but he covers last week he was at the National Soccer Center on the Whitecaps, and I understand he's writing Lions today. But I'll just say this, man, exciting time for the British Columbia sports fan, right? The Whitecaps are amazing. The Lions are playing their best football of the year. The Canucks have started. And no matter where your baseball allegiance lies, you probably got a stake in the ALCS, right? These are pretty heady times for sports fans in our market.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't lose. I don't really have a stake. I mean, when I grew up, obviously I'm a Joe Carter kid, and so a kid, watching the Blue Jays going up, and then of course I had my A's and lost my A's. So I'm just, and the Mariners,
welcome back,
you always
Patrick.
got to
Welcome
see the
back.
Mariners, so anyway, it's been exciting, and but you're not wrong locally, and so I don't know, I'm not necessarily
Seahawks leading the division.
I'm a 49ers guy, but anyway,
Yeah.
But anyway,
you get more disparate NFL fandom, for sure.
Yeah. No, but I was saying that, the whole point of the Lions thing, I mean, I'm looking at, there's some stars in this town getting it done. Thomas Muller, Nathan Rourke, and maybe a guy that needs a little bit more,
Oh, you're going there, huh?
Wow.
There are some stars in this town getting it done.
More. I literally wrote it. I mean, listen, sitting there Saturday night, right? I'm getting ready for the Canucks game. I got the Whitecaps game on. We see the insanity. Blake, are you allowed to comment on this? The insanity of the goal that wasn't a goal.
Yeah.
And then, which could have completely shattered. I mean, listen, the Whitecaps have been fabulous, but a moment like that could completely shatter your ability to cope. And they did. And then their superstar said, I'm going to create
I got this.
I'm going to create a scoring chance. And then we flip over and we watch the Canucks. I don't know what they did against Edmonton. And it was so stark. I got to write a story first about the Whitecaps and their remarkable triumph, which drew in a lot of people because it was notable for a lot of reasons. And then I got to write about the contrast with the Canucks,
A third period crying out for a star player to do the same thing in a one-goal game, right, Patrick?
And you know what? It's twofold to some degree. I'm not going to lay blame at Quinn Hughes' feet. He's been okay, but he hasn't been.
I was talking about the other one.
I know. But I'm saying Quinn can be better too, can't he?
Well, I'm not. I think I've been more tempered in the reaction to sort of these 3-game start that maybe others have been. I'm just saying, listen, this is a 4th place team. This is what you guys asked me last week. What is this team going to be? And I said it's a 4th place team. And they were playing a team in Edmonton and a team in St. Louis that have serious ambitions this season. And we know the Canucks would like to get there, but we know they're not. So, to me, it's about, obviously, the Dallas test is massive. And Chicago, look at what Chicago did last night, right? How do they handle Chicago on the back, in their own second night of a back-to-back? It's a challenge for these Canucks to show us where they're at, not so much where they should be, because I think that's the hard thing for us to react and understand. We got used to 2 years ago, there was a lot of chatter, a lot of ambition. Obviously, we remember the Jim Rutherford quote, but even at that point, we said this team should be a very good team contending for the playoffs, and they blew that expectation out of the water. And then, of course, we know what happened last year, which was they started hot and then they fell apart in the most spectacular fashion.
And it is sports, and sports is crazy and nonsensical sometimes. And I think last night's out-of-town scoreboard, I think, is a perfect example. You mentioned the Blackhawks lambasting the Blues 8-3. The Sabres double up the Senators 8-4. That is the Sabres who, people were ready to send to the American Hockey League. I mean, you never know what to expect. And the Canucks win tonight. They're 2-2, and it all feels fine again. But, it does feel tenuous. It feels like they're walking the edge of the blade every single night.
Well, and you look at the structure of this road trip. Like, they're playing some tough teams. They go play Washington, right? They play. I mean, I don't know what to think of Nashville this year, but like they. And then there's the Pittsburgh Penguins. But this is a team that needs to show that it is at least a fourth place team, and that means beating Chicago, and that means pulling off the upset as Chicago did last night.
Right.
So listen, I don't think this is a road trip anyone was expecting to go 4-1 on. 3-2 would be great. Even 2-3 is fine, but you're starting to fall behind the 8 ball at that point. Before the season, when I had a great chat with Jake about, first of all, his stick and sort of the experimenting he's been doing with various lengths and sizes and flexes. He said to me part of the reason why he was thinking about his stick was because he didn't think he was very good at forechecking last year, and forechecking is what he is supposed to be good at. So that there's sort of a statement there that they haven't created enough. They haven't forechecked well enough. I think in limited minutes, actually, that line's been okay. I don't understand Adam. I mean, maybe I do because he's a rookie head coach, but if you're looking to get your best player going, I guess benching him, but like against Edmonton, he played as much as Braden Coots at 5-on-5 in the third period. Like there's been some odd deployments. It's a little bit throwing stuff against the wall. If I were Adam Foote, I wouldn't necessarily be making these changes, but he has said openly he likes what Evander Kane, or he thinks Evander Kane can be a catalyst for multiple players in this lineup.
Patrick, we got a super chat from a fan yesterday who was asking about deployment and looking and saying, most NHL teams ride their top 3 lines and play the fourth sparingly. Adam has been a little bit more democratic in the ice time. I am starting to get Willie Desjardins vibes there, Patrick, because as we know, Willie loved his plumbers. And you remember that playoff series in Calgary? We're like, where are the fucking, like, how is that fourth line playing like almost as much as the Twins in that post?
Well, we remember the story, right? Of what happened there?
Well, I remember they put the kid McMillan in from the interior who had no business being in a play.
There was that.
He wound up scoring that night, and they blew the big lead. I do remember that.
Yeah, but Willie would just rotate through 4 lines.
That's right.
Like he didn't actually. Yeah, like that was like he literally did. And if I'm not mistaken,
like he didn't leverage his best offensive players on a no-zone face-off and things like that.
I think they were kind of looking around. They're like, "What's going on here?" And they suddenly realized that Willie would just put out who was ever sitting in front of him. And that it was sort of, it was beer league style. Everyone just slid down the bench and they'd go on and they come and they. So what the Sedins and Verbata started doing was they started scooping themselves ahead in the line. At least that's what I've been told.
That is awesome.
But on foot, ice time deployment, that top line that he's now had to recast, Kane on power play 1, keeping Coots. Then the odd one this week we're trying to wrap our heads around, Peach. You have Pettersson practice with DeBrusk and Boeser, and then say in your post-practice scrum, I'm thinking of Kane and Garmin, and not calling Sasson up to participate in that practice while Coots practices and goes back. I
might have been the last practice for a week too.
Right. Is his inexperience showing here?
I was fine with him keeping Coots. I thought starting the season with him like I said, I thought there was a scenario where you could string him along. Part of me wonders that the Blueger injuries kind of forced their hand on this, that in the end they weren't planning to play him in the first 3 games and they kind of sat back and go, okay, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
there's a bit of roster management they've had to deal with. I don't quite understand why they didn't make a retroactive move with Bluger, because he was hurt before the season started. So you're well into it, and you could have easily had Sasson up. It's that part was a bit odd. If you're going to make the move, have all the guys here. So yeah, listen, it's a feeling its way out process. It was never going to, you don't, like, he's just not a guy, like, he's new at this. He has people around him. So you're sort of like, okay, hopefully he gets to be, hey, Adam, I wouldn't necessarily done that way. Well, maybe do it this way. What do you think about that? And by reputation, Rick Tocchet certainly talked to us about how, prepared Foote would come in with sort of, they'd be, here's what we need. I need from you. What can you bring in? And Adam prepared great practice plans, and they had pretty good practice last year. And I would say their practices in terms of operation have been very snappy and have been, I think, quite interesting to watch. But yeah, like, there are all these bits and pieces about running a bench and running a team that if you don't have a lot of practice at, it might slip by you. So yeah, we'll see. Listen, if it happens again that you run a practice and then you call the guy up, even though it would have made sense to have him maybe in, if that keeps happening, yeah, there's something to talk about. If it keeps happening as it did with Willie Desjardins and guys realizing what he was doing with the bench, then there's a concern. But if he's able to move past this, I'm not, like I said, I'm not waving flags, jumping up and down based off of last weekend, but I do have things now to watch for to see how things evolve.
Stars are perfect, 3-0. They score 5 goals per game. Thatcher Demko officially jumps onto the U.S. preliminary roster for the Olympics along with Brock Boeser before the game. The goaltending's got to be perfect, near perfect, to have a chance versus Dallas, presumably.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is where this team is at. They need good goaltending. They need to be pretty reasonable defensively. Not a total 5-alarm fire. And I don't think they've been a 5-alarm fire, but they've been under pressure because they've been struggling on their breakouts and they've been struggling to maintain possession. They've had good shifts here and there, but the overall game is lacking. And you're playing against a team like Dallas that plays you hard and plays fast. And obviously Glenn Gulletson has going to have different priorities than Pete DeBoer. But at the end of the day, the best players remain the same best players as last year. And I've been a huge fan of this roster for a long time. And I like how they play, and I like the way they go. It's another huge test. It's not that different in my mind from the test that Edmonton presented last Saturday, and in a certain level, the test that St. Louis presented in terms of sort of grinding hockey smarts, the way that those teams seem to play.
Playoff savvy team.
That knows exactly.
Yeah.
Well, really like Casey DeSmith, like what he did here. I think he's one of the great backup goalies in the NHL. Do you know he's the best goaltender off the... I heard Steve Alcat talking about this late last year.
Yeah.
Casey DeSmith is the best goaltender off the rush in the NHL for the last few years. Not that the Vancouver Canucks generate rush chances, Patrick, as you well know. 8 goals through 3 games. Patrick, is this going to be a team that's overly reliant on goaltending all season?
The Canucks?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked so much about how much Pettersson needs to perform, but I mean, I've said this before. Like, this team, if they do not get great goaltending, if they only get sort of average goaltending from Thatcher Demko, that's just not going to be enough. They need a top performer from the back out. It is absolutely going to be a goaltending story. No matter what else happens. If the goalies are playing well, they will have a chance. I mean, look at last Saturday. They had a chance in a game they had no business being in because Thatcher Demko was playing very, very well. And this is what, when I talk to the people around him going into the season, this was everyone was vowing. This is a guy, they would say, remember, he was a Vezina finalist, right? Like, this guy was in the conversation with Connor Hellebuck. So that's exactly, and he feels he's back to that. And if that carries on and he's able to stay healthy, and obviously they don't overwork him, and Kevin Lankinen comes in and is Kevin Lankinen, which is a solid, competent goalie. Now, he's not going to be Thatcher Demko, and perhaps we do slip back into what I'm talking about with the sort of getting average goaltending. I mean, the pressure is in a certain level is going to be on Lankinen because he's a solid, though unspectacular goalie, and they will need him to perform in a way that is perhaps more than he is capable of. But the real story remains Thatcher Demko, who you're getting 55 starts from, needs to be an outstanding goalie in every single one of those 55 starts.
Okay. Last question, if you're done with the Canucks questions for him, since he's...
Oh, you want to go to the...
Well, just that you're covering the Lions today. Like, are the Lions getting this done? Like, is Nathan Rourke going to win in the next couple of games? He have a host the West semi, win an MOP? Like, are you started? Do you feel like the market is starting to get a little bit excited here for what the Lions could achieve?
Well, it's funny. Like, I will be honest. I obviously, with the Canucks season getting started and all the buzz around Thomas Muller, I sort of let my attention lapse on the Lions. And when I'd last been paying attention, it was summertime and they weren't playing very well. And then I sit back and I talk to a few people and they're like, wait, hold on. And you start looking, okay, they fixed this, they're doing a bit better. You just go look at where they are in the standings and how they got there. And this is a team with a fabulous, fantastic offense led by the league's best quarterback. And that gets you a long, long way. If we come back to the question of simple, competent defense, right? That's all the Lions need, because they will blow you out of the water. And that is to me a fantastic story. And people love seeing touchdowns, and the Lions keep putting down touchdowns. People are going to start taking notice. And obviously it is a long season. It's probably too long. I get why it is structured the way it is, but in terms of a pure playing product, it's probably too long. Especially when you get most of the teams in the playoffs, right? But here we are. We're coming down to crunch time, and it's getting exciting, and they're peaking at just the right time. So,
Something
they're
to watch.
winning at home. They're winning at home. They're 495 points, leads the CFL.
You talk about Nathan Rourke. Yeah. Something to watch in this game, though. If Keon Hatcher goes off, he all of a sudden has G-Roy's record possible in the final.
Season.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
In the season
record for receiving yards is what you're talking about.
Yeah, he needs to go off here.
Somebody's working sidelines tomorrow.
But if he goes off, he all of a sudden has that in his sights, which is kind of crazy. It wasn't. I don't think that was Gretzky's 220 odd points,
no.
But it's a pretty gaudy record.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, listen, the quarterback is nowhere without his receivers, right? Like that, he can throw the ball all he wants. They still have to catch the ball, so that is a statement about guys being able to get downfield and do their job and get open, catch and run the ball, and let's go. So, it's an exciting time, and it's an exciting time for Vancouver sports fan, at least for two of the three teams.
You enjoy all of it. All of it. Just
let
it wash over you. Just bathe in it. Guys. We don't know how long it will be until it's back. Thank you, Peach.
Okay. All right. Take care, guys.
So here's some price from the Historic Wall Center.
This segment brought to you by your Toyota Pacific dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. You've been curious. You've been kicking the tires, so to speak, on joining the electric vehicle / hybrid revolution. There is no better way to do it than in a Toyota Prius. No worries about can I get there. You can get there. Got a full tank of gas behind you. And when you get there, you can go full EV once you do. That's the beauty. You're in charge of when you're using your electricity, when you're using your gas. You can even charge along the way if you want to be an EV when you arrive. So there is no downside, and you get it surrounded by a spectacular vehicle. Go take one for a test drive now. You can lease a Prius plug-in hybrid from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer. You can drive up to 72K on a battery. So if you're just running errands on a daily basis, you'll never use the gas.
Alas, it is not enough to get you to Rogers Center West in Seattle, Washington for the American League Championship
The tank of gas is.
The tank of gas is. For sure. Yeah. Our next guest is one of our favorites here on Sekeres and Price. We normally talk to him about football. And we're going to ask him about football at the end of this interview, but he has turned baseball writer, Blake. Captain Gregg Bell of the News Tribune in Tacoma joins us. pulling double duty these days for the Bugle. He was even in Toronto for games 1 and 2 of the ALCS, where he stopped by the Hockey Hall of Fame and picked himself up a souvenir. Aye, Captain, how you doing?
I'm great, thanks, guys. I'm back to my roots. You know, I used to be a baseball beat writer back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the Oakland A's with the Sacramento Bee, Mulder, Hudson, Zito, Giambi, those guys. So,
wow.
I'm dusting that.
What years? What years
he
is that?
knows some quality baseball teams. Like he knows.
I was a beat writer for 5 years. I was 2002 to 2005. No,
Moneyball.
2000. No, it was. Michael Lewis was on the beat and researching his book, traveling with us. The last year I was in the beat. So it was 2000 to 2003. 99 to 2002, and then I covered the Raiders' 2002 Super Bowl against the Buccaneers.
So you missed the Sacramento Gold Miners, unfortunately.
Everywhere Gregg goes, Gregg covers great teams, like those Oakland A's teams. Those were good Raiders teams. You've covered some darn good Seahawks teams over the years.
If you were just 10 years earlier, you could have covered the CFL for the Gold Miners.
I know. They did play down there.
Yeah.
And they also played in Baltimore, right?
Yes, they did.
Oh, CFL was very big in Baltimore.
Very big.
Still is.
Yeah.
By the way, when I was in Toronto, next to the St. Lawrence Market, right down the street from it, I saw a building that had a tiny CFL plaque in the front of it.
That is the Canadian Football League head office, Greg. Yep, on King Street West.
It looked like a Kinko's. What's going on there? That's like, I was like, what? Is this the league headquarters? I mean, Park Avenue in New York, and it's an empire, and it's a fortress.
Do you know what the rent is like on King Street West?
Hey, that's the Flatiron district of King Street West, buddy.
Tony.
That is
very
super
expensive.
High class.
Yeah.
Okay,
even if you're a Kinko's.
The price per square foot is like half of what it is in Vancouver, and that's rich, buddy.
Yeah.
Can we talk about what they're doing to the CFL, by the way?
Or no, we can't. Not with you, because you will only mock it.
It's getting more to what you are.
Exactly.
You should be happy.
We're putting goalposts at the end of the end zone, for God's sakes, Greg. Only 50 years after the NFL. I know.
There's talk of going to 7 downs as well.
I know. I blame Trump. All this 51st states talk is seeping into our culture.
Yes.
Speaking of seeping in, we're used to taking over your baseball stadium, but more a trickle last night. What was the Jays contingent as you saw it, Greg?
Yeah, there were 46,000 plus guys in the crowd, and I would say no more than 5,000 were Jays fans. It's certainly not when you and your beau come down and they just 30-some thousand people are in here on a summer weekend. One, of course, it's a weeknight at school in the middle of post-holiday October for Canadians. But two, the playoff season ticket holders, the season ticket holders got first dibs on the playoff tickets, and they sold it for the Mariners, and they sold out instantly. So there weren't a ton on the secondary market as there normally are, because the season ticket holders bought their allotments. So, and then once it got, it was more than the Tigers brought in here fans-wise for the first round, of course. And then once it became 8-3, 8-2, and 12-2, of course you were going to hear them more, and you were going to get the national TV broadcast focused on them more, because that's the only people that were cheering at that point.
Yeah. There's been some lopsided games here.
I was going to say, the drama has not been there, Greg. Like when the Jays tied it at 3 back in Game 2, that was about as dramatic as we've got here.
It was the second inning.
Yeah. But it was a comeback. It was a comeback.
And then Polanco hits a 3-run homer, and
it.
Rogers Center sounded like a library. It was really quiet.
Can we get a good game today, do you think?
Yeah, we need a good game.
Today's the pivot game, of course. It's really curious to me that Max Scherzer's getting the ball for Toronto. It's almost like the Blue Jays, when they mapped it out at the beginning of the series, said, well, let's just get through Game 4. We'll throw the future Hall of Fame. But now they can't just get through it. This is the pivot game in the series. Luis Castillo against Max Scherzer at 41. The Mariners had the huge advantage to me in the pitching matchup. And it's just how many runs can Scherzer hold him to before the Blue Jays have to really gut their bullpen today.
So I happened upon a great – I don't know if you saw it on Twitter. Blake Murphy had tweeted it out, a list of the 41 major league starts, playoffs, for pitchers 41 and older. And needless to say, if you're pitching in the major leagues at 41, it's all legends. Like, like Scherzer's near the bottom of the list in terms of actual reputation, probably, compared to the list of guys on. But the gist is, in the whole list of 41, there's about 4 quality starts. 1 to Dennis Martinez.
Oh, gosh.
And 3
with
to Kenny Rogers. 3 to Kenny Rogers. No, it wasn't with the Expos. With the Mariners. But 3 to Kenny Rogers. And there's like 12 stars for Roger Clemens, but none of them were that great. And
how much pine tar did Kenny have on his hand doctoring the ball would be my question.
So the takeaway here is, like, he's been a great pitcher, but what are the chances he gives you what you need here today?
Yeah, I think obviously going to be a quick hook. And in the postseason, starts really only end up being a third, maybe 40% of the game often. Even when guys give up 1 run, they go 4 2/3. That's what happened to Luis Castillo, his last start in the division series, because he walked 4 guys. So I would think both teams' bullpens are pretty much set, because the last 2 games, they haven't had to use their high leverage guys. That was the big thing about Seattle going to Toronto, because their bullpen and pitching staff was a mess because of that 15-inning game on Friday night. They get on the plane. They don't land in Toronto until 10:15. And then Bryce Miller does what he does in game 1. It just saves them. And then because they got the big early lead with the 6-3 home run by Polanco in the 5th in game 2, then Dan Wilson could bring in their lower leverage guys to give Spire and Brash and Munoz the day off. And then they didn't pitch again last night. Same with Toronto. I mean, they're up 13-4. They're bringing in the 4A pitchers at that point. So the series has reset pitching-wise in order for managers to pull a Max Scherzer earlier in the game because their bullpen's rested.
By the way, it's versus Seattle, Dennis Martinez with Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah. Greg, I wanted to ask you this because one of the things that's come up with our group as we've watched the games, Toronto's a better baseball city than Seattle. Now, granted, it's 2 World Series, and of course the Mariners had their fallow period after 2001, but you look at the last time the M's were in the postseason, they had that dramatic victory in Toronto, fantastic comeback, famous victory, and then they get absolutely blitzed by Houston. They lose that DS in 3 straight games. Do you think this run is going to set the hook a little bit more with your city and the Mariners? Because needless to say, there were a lot of people who were some upset with ownership and management over the last few years when I've gone down there for the Blue Jays series. I'm not hearing that talk anymore. Greg, you think this got a chance to really set the hook and make Seattle a baseball town again?
Well, a couple of things. One, they lost those 3 games to Houston by a combined 3 runs. They lost in 18 innings in game 3, 0-0 for 17 and a half innings. That series was a lot closer than 3-game sweep. Look, I've been here,
but it came back. But the stadium wasn't full when the next year, right? Like we sit here and watch it, and we look at the crowds in like August and September when they've been in wild card races or been in division races, and went, wow, only that much when you're playing out the stretch trying to get to the.
They were skeptical.
Yeah.
Well, the season ticket base for the Mariners is lower than a lot of major league teams, and so the walk-up sales in the summer are often tourists or casuals. And the other thing that happens in Seattle in the summer is a lot of people that go through this town are on their way to Canada and Alaska on cruises, and they're not watching baseball games on the way in and out of their cruise ships. But there is a core fan base. Let me put it this way. I've been in Seattle since 1994. When the Mariners made it in 95, I was on the top, second to last row of third base for Edgar's double. That was the loudest building I've ever been in. 2001, when I covered it for the I covered the A's for the Sacramento Bee. We came up here all the time with the Mariners. The Mariners were bigger than the Seahawks. The Mariners, when they were in the playoffs, and I've covered both teams, the Mariners in the playoffs are bigger than the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. There are more people ingrained to the Mariners than there are to the Seahawks. We could argue whether Toronto's a bigger baseball town than Seattle. I think Seattle's a bigger baseball town than an NFL town. when the Mariners go. The problem is for 48 years, most of the 44 of the 48 years, they've pissed the fan base off with such ineptitude and frustration that a lot of people don't go. They get tired of hot dogs from heaven and bobbleheads and fireworks to draw people all the time. I mean, for the long stretch until this recent run of 2 playoffs in 3 years, it was Ken Griffey sweeping out the clubhouse 1995 bobblehead nights, or Ichiro Suzuki carrying his suitcase out to his car bobblehead. They were just living off their past for so long. It turned a lot of people off. And then they didn't spend money, and they pocketed the revenues. Well, now the last couple of years, they've made the trade deadline moves. They brought in Eugenio Suarez, who's not hitting a lick. They brought in Luis Castillo, who's going to start Game 4 tonight as another trade deadline deal. They brought in Josh Naylor, who they're going to re-sign after this season. They're now shelling out some of the money that they've been hoarding for all these years. And so now the people, the latent fans, are coming out of the woodwork. It's loud in that stadium. I don't know if it comes through on the Sportsnet broadcast, but
sure
it is
does.
loud in that.
Yeah.
And it was loud in Rogers Center too.
More than set the hook, then maybe the right phrasing is you're at risk of losing a generation without some success, right? Like, because it's been so long, you can just skip a generation that doesn't remember Edgar's hit, that doesn't remember seeing the sweet swing of Ken Griffey Jr. So that was at risk, I think, up until this point. If they were to lose this series, and they are in charge right now, 2-1, let's be frank here. But if they were to lose this series, has this been enough, do you think, that a new generation is enthralled, or has this been short enough of a playoffs that it'll get swept under the rug, do you think?
No, I think that the region's enthralled again, and it reminds me a little bit of 2001 here. Look, they have never even been within one game of the World Series. If they win tonight, they will be where they never have been before. So,
well, it's going 6 at least, like a game 6.
It can go 5, Blake.
Well, sorry, yes, but game 5 is going to be something else in Seattle. It's either going to be, knockout punch,
it's bigger than the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. I think Game 5 of the ALCS tomorrow will be bigger than the Seahawks going to 3 Super Bowls and winning one of them.
Is that because you only host an NFC championship game? You don't actually host the – okay.
Exactly. And a large segment of the fan base don't come to Super Bowls. They watch it in their houses or bars with their friends.
Right. Nobody can afford Super Bowls.
Yeah, the Super Bowl crowd, for those who have never been there, the Super Bowl crowd is like going to a tea party because it's a bunch of corporate bigwigs who got their tickets from their companies years and years ago and flew in on private jets, and it's a bunch of celebrities you can put on. It's not fans. They're not the big it's a very lottery set, small subset of season ticket holders who even get a shot at those Super Bowl tickets. So not so with the Mariners in Game 5 tomorrow. That's why there was something of desperation in this city last night and today of they got to get one of these first 2 so that they can have Game 5 for all the marbles tomorrow.
Right. Because
they can say what they want about winning the first 2 in Toronto. They don't want to go back.
No, needless to say. When your team's in the World Series and you have a World Series game day in town, like that is quite an animal. And
we wouldn't know here in Seattle. World Series.
and like here's the thing. Like I think Blake and I are aligned on this. If it can't be the Jays, let it be the Mariners and Seattle, because God knows baseball fans in that city have suffered over a half century. I'm getting excited about the football team you cover. Big Monday nighter coming up here at home against Houston. Sam Darnold's looked fantastic, Greg. What's your assessment of the new QB?
Yeah, he's better than I think they thought he was going to be because they're not playing offense the way they designed it to be. They're supposed to run the ball better and have Sam Darnold complimentary off of him, and they aren't running much at all. They're 20-something in the league in rushing. They've only had one 100-yard rushing day by a running back. That was week 2 by Kenneth Walker in Pittsburgh. And by and large, Sam Darnold's done it on his own without the complimentary run piece that he's supposed to be running play action and bootlegs off of. Against Jacksonville, the Jaguars just spit on the Seahawks running game, and they were in coverage switches and blitzes and coming after Darnold. They were solely focused on the pass game, and he still throws for 295 and the 61-yard majestic touchdown pass to Smith and Jigba, who, by the way, is now the league's leading receiver, even though everyone in the world knows they're going to throw to him. So Darnold is carrying far more of the load than they signed him to. I don't think they're going to win the division if they don't start running the ball, because they're not going to beat San Francisco and the Rams until they do. So all now it looks great, but it could just add up to a wild card and another couple road games and where they've been the last decade. They got to run the ball. Defense, they're winning without Witherspoon playing, which is a shock to me. That Witherspoon, I think, is their best player, including Leonard Williams on that defense, and he's only played 2 of 6 games. I don't know if he's going to play Monday night against Houston. They're stopping the run, and it's getting to where teams aren't even trying to run. You see the pressure numbers and sacks there. 7 sacks, a season high last week. A lot of that by the front four. Mike McDonald hasn't blitzed a ton because his secondary and his best blitzers, Julian Love and Devin Witherspoon, have been injured. They have a Reek Woolen issue in the secondary that they're kind of playing around right now and shucking and jiving around that. They aren't whole, is my point. They're 4-2. They've lost the San Francisco game they should have won. They are still a work in progress on offense with that run.
Can they go get a receiver? Like, receivers are cheap. Go get a receiver.
They still have Cooper Kupp, and they do like Torrey Horton, the rookie 5th-round pick from Colorado State, who would have been a higher-round pick if he hadn't blown out his knee last year. So I don't think they're going to add to that receiver position. I do think they're going to add to the trenches. They might sign another interior offensive lineman. They had Shane Lemieux, and then they put him on practice squad injury reserve, former Oregon Duck and Giants Saints starter. They aren't real thrilled with Anthony Bradford at right guard. He's getting blown up in the run game, and he's having pass protection issues. Gray Zabel's been a revelation at left guard, even better than maybe they thought a first-round pick would be right out of the chutes. Their strength of their team is to the left side with Charles Cross and Gray Zabel. When they need to run and get first downs, they run to the left. They just haven't run consistently enough. I'm waiting for a game where they are actually clicked like they are designed to click on offense, run and pass, but that could be because their offensive line won't ever get them there.
I'm waiting for the day when Lumen becomes a fortress again, and it's not like a cavalcade of Blue Jays fans week in, week out into that stadium taking it over, Greg. What the hell is going on? They win all these games on the road, then they come home to what used to be the best home field advantage in the entire National
There was
Football
only
League,
11 men. There
and
was
they
no
play
12.
before a 50-50 crowd, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, they're going to start raising the 11.5 flag. The way
Yeah. 11 1/3, yes.
Mike McDonald is only the 4th coach in NFL history to win 10 of his first 11 road games. George Seifert is on that list. Sean McVay's on that list. Paul Brown from the 1950 AAFC Cleveland Browns on that list, and they can't win at home. You're right. It's like the Blue Jays, except they're coming from Green Bay, coming from San Francisco, coming from Miami, Denver.
Well, they better not be coming from Houston on Monday. It's not like the Texans have. It's not like the Texans have a national fan base that travels, Captain. Come on.
But here's the problem. A lot of those season tickets behind the visitors' bench in the 100 level that show up on television are owned by secondary market ticket brokers.
That's right.
The Seahawks screwed up by letting the secondary market guys buy those 100 level tickets. And that's who gets those. The visiting teams are the ones who sell those or who buy those from the second market sellers. So season ticket holders for the Seahawks often don't even own those seats. And then some that do sell them because the Seahawks have raised their prices year over year, even when they haven't made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. And they know they can sell them to a cheesehead and get back about half their season cost for one game. Mm-hmm. And when you're not winning as a Seahawks fan and you just jacked me up for a 150% price increase,
right?
Yeah, why wouldn't I sell it rather than sit in the rain and watch them lose? Bottom line is, if they win home games, that problem's going to disappear. We didn't have that problem.
That's right. That's right. When Coach Carroll was there was not a problem. All right, Captain, you enjoy the baseball here today and tomorrow.
Before we go on the baseball note, does anybody know what has happened to the bunting? Why is there no bunting?
No, I know. I would love to see more bunting. I'm a traditionalist in that regard.
As of the
Nothing
DS,
says
certainly
Americana
the CS.
like bunting.
Yes.
Captain, maybe we should get 1600 Pennsylvania on this. It's a very important file.
Well, let's not ask him. There was bunting in the first round game at least the outside of the park. I'm going to still call it Safeco Field. And I don't know where the bunting is right now. They put it in a storage shed or something.
Feels like the
severe lack of bunting.
Winning the salmon race down here than they are about having bunting on the field.
It feels like second week in May.
No, exactly.
Put the bunting
There was one thing that visually told you this is a massive baseball game, and it was bunting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
You know what?
another.
I know a few folks in the Mariners marketing. I'm going to ask them to put.
Ask them about
Down
the
to it.
bunting.
Yes.
You enjoy the baseball today and tomorrow. You enjoy Toronto Sunday, Monday. It's going to be a very quick turnaround for that Monday night football game, Captain Bell, but appreciate
I
you
might have
making
to
time.
miss that Monday night game. I
Whoa.
can't make it back in time.
Whoa.
Wow.
I think Game 7 is bigger than a Houston.
Yeah,
Seattle.
probably.
Yeah, I
Probably
think
is.
you're probably right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Captain.
Always great. Appreciate you.
Cigars and Price from the historic Wall Center, built by Arbor Lee. Big game downtown, and there are a couple very big games downtown this weekend. Make it more than just a night. Make it a memory. Stay steps from the action here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center with an exclusive Cigars and Price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Tell them we sent you. Some blackout dates supply based on availability. One of the things we always do with our BCIT interns is give them a chance to come on the show and take away a clip for their CV, reward all that hard work that they do behind the scenes with Mike. Joining us now, Langley's Elijah Ford, who's been with us for the last few weeks, wants to talk about the Canucks Big Three. How you doing?
I'm just fantastic.
Yeah.
What an honor it is to finally get on the air and talk some Canucks with you boys.
Please, flattery will get you everywhere. Well, we found you to be an enthusiastic young man. Where do you want to start here? With number 40, with the captain, or with the goalie?
I can definitely start with number 40. I feel like that's kind of the biggest story coming out of these first three games, especially considering I think Blake said on the show a couple of days ago when you were talking about not overreacting to this team. Blake made the point of this isn't only 3 games. This has been a theme for the past year and a half or so, and one of those consistent themes has been the underperformance of Elias Pettersson, which is so fascinating to me because the guy is obviously a star. We were doing this trivia earlier. There have only been 16 unique 100-point scorers since 2022-23, and Pettersson is one of them. But since March of last year, which is both a year and a half in actual time and in season time, he's only averaged 0.66 points per game, not goals per game, points per game. So he had a knee injury in January, which he reported in the offseason, which caused knee tendonitis. Now, knee tendonitis, I'm not a doctor. At BCIT, I'm not in
You're
doctor
only
school.
20. You would still need like years of
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
There's no 20-year-old doctors, Elijah.
A lot more doctor's school time than media school time, for
Gotcha.
sure. But with micro tears, it's not like an ACL. It doesn't go away with the surgery. You can play through it, but it's nagging. And he reported that it affected his offseason a lot last year. And I feel like this is something that he's still playing through. Now, obviously, he's not going to come out and say it because us as media and fans would probably call it excuse making, which, to be fair,
Well, even his head coach called it excuse me in a
100%.
roundabout way. Yeah,
100%. And we've seen great athletes play through knee tendonitis in the past. Rafa Nadal in tennis and Ronaldo, D. Wade in basketball. Like athletes in different sports have had to play through it. But there have also been cases like Todd Gurley in the NFL, who, if you remember, had 2 of the greatest running back seasons I've ever seen.
Sensational running
Had him on my
back for the
fantasy
Rams.
team one
Yep.
year, won a title with him. Great guy in my heart, as always. But we've seen Bobby Orr also, and even nowadays, Patrick Laine sustained a knee injury in the preseason last year, and he hasn't really looked
Hasn't
the same.
looked the same.
Hasn't looked the same.
How about
So,
this? Like 20 years old and Bobby Orr.
Oh, if you
I
want
love
to
it. I
have
love
some
it.
conversations about 1940s NHL,
Great
I'm
Blackhawks
yeah, okay.
I'm
defenseman
here
Bobby
for it.
Orr.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
So we should go easier on Petey.
Drew O'Connor, the guy to get him back on that thing.
His speed can't hurt. I do like that lineup, but his underlying stats
his
have been
puck
good.
possession can, but yeah, the speed can't hurt.
100%. What's
Okay.
so fascinating also is underlying stats have been good, but just by the eye test, it seems like he's just lost a step.
Well, underlying and overlying stats for Quinn Hughes always pretty good. What do you want to say about the captain?
I mean, Mike has some viz that I wanted to pull up for this. Quinn Hughes is instinctually the greatest transition defenseman that we have maybe ever seen. Obviously, Bobby Orr's in that conversation, Ray Bourque, Paul Cott. We can bring out a bunch of names. Doug Harvey, if you want to go back that far. But instinctually, last year, he was one of the best transition defensemen we've ever seen. And with Foote's new system, he wants the defense to get involved in the breakout system systemically. And what I think this is doing for Quinn Hughes is, instead of just naturally breaking out the puck as he always has, he has to take an extra second to think, wait a second, is what I'm doing right now a part of the greater plan for the team? And obviously, I think this is affecting the rest of the D too. He's the only defenseman who's even recorded a single point so far this season. So obviously,
I think we have to point to the visuals here because I got stuck looking at the cloud.
Yeah.
He's in the top
Yeah,
right. He's
way
over
up
there.
to the top right. And how about him? I think Mike has the viz. Very,
Yeah, exactly.
very pro, Elijah. Very, very pro.
Demko
Demmer.
gets the call for the Olympic long list. You think he's got that kind of a season where he can jump into the top 3 and make it to the Olympics?
I mean, so far there is no reason to say he can't. He's been unbelievable. The only reason the Canucks were even sniffing around in that Oilers game. But I think the big thing for Demko this offseason was he was actually able to train instead of rehab. And those might sound like synonyms, but there is a huge difference for athletes in terms of when you're rehabbing, all you're trying to do is get back to where you once were, which is what he had to do last offseason with the knee injury that he sustained, that unheard of knee injury for a goalie. This offseason, he's been able to focus on details of his game, his push-off, his angles, and just get more comfortable in the crease over the offseason. And I think that has just worked out tremendously for him and the Canucks, who are obviously going to need him to be a Vezina candidate for any sort of big success this season.
We once called Harm Dial the boy wonder. My
Not
goodness.
bad, kid.
20 going on
Not
62
bad.
here with the wisdom.
He has been building to this moment for the last 3 weeks, if
Yeah.
not the last 20 years. Nice job, Elijah.
Thanks, Elijah.
Thanks for
Thanks,
your time. Elijah Ford, our intern from BCIT. Jays M's tonight, Game 4 from T-Mobile. Max Scherzer versus Luis Castillo. Mike's got the graphic here, the viz, if we can bring that up.
Elijah did that a little bit smoother, but okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I called it graphic and viz. Could have been more succinct. Their
Yeah,
economy of words, very
Yeah.
important.
Okay, you'll get it.
Anyways, Mike has the viz here, and Castillo made 2 starts versus the Jays this season. He pitched to a 7.20 ERA over 10 innings, a 2.10 whip. He ain't scary anymore. Of course, neither is Scherzer. Bullpens get ready.
Yeah, and the bats have been going for either team on any given
they
day.
have.
We haven't yet had the slug fest. Are we ready for 12-10 final?
Wow, okay. I mean, I was going to say.
How many double digits, though, have we seen in
We've
these
had
Major League
each
Baseball?
team have a slugfest,
Yes,
just not at the same
together.
Not at the same time. And ALCS Game 3 from LA, must win for Milwaukee. Tyler Glasnow is your starter for the Dodgers, and what acts to follow after what Blake Snell and Yamamoto did in Games 1 and 2. The Brewers had not named a starter as
You can't
of
go
this
7
morning.
innings, bro? Like, that's...
LA up 2 Buzz in this best of 7 with 3 games straight here at home. The honors and accolades are pouring in for Vancouver Whitecaps FC, and deservedly so. 3 individuals are up for MLS awards. This after the club had a league best 4 All-Star game participants. Head coach Jesper Sorensen, a nominee for the Siggy Schmid Coach of the Year. 13 players have hit career highs this year. Mike has the viz. 13 players have hit career highs this week or this year.
Mike's going to get a blister from all these triggering here.
It's the 3rd youngest roster in MLS. They've gone on 2 11-plus game unbeaten streaks. I mean, this is an open and shut case, much like Rick Tocchet with the Jack Adams 2 years ago.
I think so,
right?
but San Diego is a first-year club vying for first place as well, and Bradley Carnell in his first year, Philadelphia, winning the Supporter Shield, are the other 2 chief rivals for this. So, it really depends on exposure and how much people have stayed up to watch San Diego and Vancouver. And then within that, how many people watch that little old team from the village in Canada, right? So we'll see.
Well, the little old team from the village in Canada has the best goal differential in MLS and has been burdened by a history here of being, let's face it, mediocre to poor. This guy comes in with effectively the same roster as we saw last year and takes them to the top of the table.
And more than that, Matt, I'd have to see the comparisons, but I can't imagine Philadelphia and San Diego have had the injuries to starters.
Fair enough.
that
To your
Vancouver
team
sent.
MVP, Ryan Gauld. He missed pretty much all the year. Yohei Takaoka has been nominated for MLS Goalkeeper of the Year. He leads the league in wins with 18 and clean sheets with 13. He's garnering interest from Japan's national team. Who knows, Blake? He may well be at BC Place next June between the posts.
Maybe.
For his country. They get drawn here. And Tristan Blackman, a nominee for MLS Defender of the Year. You can see where he ranks. Mike's got the viz. As a passer and a tackler, his fine work at center back for the Caps has gotten him Team USA call-ups. He's become an American international this season. Decision Day Saturday at BC Place versus FC Dallas. Blake and Paul Dolan have the call for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. A winner draw wraps up first place in the West for the Caps. Portland, Dallas, Salt Lake, Colorado, and San Jose all still possible as the play-in teams. And, of course, if Vancouver does get first place, they will play the winner of the play-in game in the West, which goes on Wednesday. Is there a team amongst that five that you want no part of? That's like
I would
a really
love Portland. Like on any given day, Portland has enough firepower, and I don't know what their health status is like. I'd have to get a deeper dive there because they got dinged at the end of the season too. San Jose can score a ton of goals, but they cannot defend, as we saw recently. So, as much as they can score, I don't think they're as big a worry. But yeah, I wouldn't love Portland.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because
They're
the
the
Caps
least
went
likely.
down to the Rose City last year and blew the doors off the Timbers in the play-in game.
And
right?
they'll remember that. Yeah.
BC Lions get both their offensive tackles back for tomorrow's big game versus Edmonton at BC Place. Jarrell Broxton at left tackle, Dejon Allen at right tackle. They're the only two changes for BC on the roster this week, who are experiencing great health right now. Slot back Javon Catoy benefited from the bye week. The North Vancouver rookie, Jackson Finley, coming off 2 strong games at safety. Nathan Rourke, of course, seeking an MOP. Cody Fajardo quarterbacking the Elks. Keon Hatcher.
No history there. No.
He's still a starting quarterback in the CFL all these years later, Blake. I'll be damned.
And he's only thrown 3 picks this year. Like, he's had a good year. Hasn't started every single game,
But how has he done in short yardage, Blake?
if you know, you know.
Yeah, no. Real ones know. Keon Hatcher leading the league in receiving yards. James Butler's third in rushing. And Mathieu Betts leads the league in sacks. Wild Wild West night at the stadium. Edmonton is eliminated from the Grey Cup playoffs with a loss. Lions seeking a 5th straight win, which would keep them in second place of the West and on a home playoff game going into the final week of the regular season.
I'm not cheering on the Elks. Ooh, almost said the forbidden word there. I'm not cheering on the Elks, obviously, but I do want that franchise to not be what they have been. Mm-hmm. They've had a nice run here in the second half. They're 7-9. They're within arm's reach of 500 here. But that's a franchise this league needs, Matt. Yeah. Like, this league needs that franchise to be putting 30,000 in the stands every week, and that's in jeopardy right now with the run of form here in the last half decade. You know.
Results from the Redwoods Golf Course poll question from Wednesday. We asked you, would you say the Canucks are in desperate, quotation marks, need for a center? Yes or no, people said?
They said yes.
Mm-hmm. Percentage?
70.
77. Old Pete says yes, as in first line. Saw a lot of that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Craft Beer Guide. Team needs a first and second line center. Let's be honest. They have the league's highest paid third line center already. Mitch, if Petey was able to regain form, then no, but he hasn't been able to. So yes, desperate as of today. Dylan, no. Only because there's no sense in pursuing a cup with this roster. Will the team suck without better center depth? Yeah. Should we desperately pursue center depth to attempt to get this group to go on a playoff run? No way.
There's logic there, too.
Very well argued, Dylan. Errors and omissions from yesterday's program. Blake wondered, did Lions start 5-1 last year? Yeah, the BC Lions started 5-1 last year.
Lost 7 of their next 9 after that.
And then shame on us. We had that story earlier in the week of itty-bitty Cape Verde, the island nation of less than 600,000 people qualifying for the FIFA World Cup for the first time ever with a victory over
Eswatini.
And we said, I have no earthly idea.
How did we never hear of a
Eswatini.
country? Well, of course, the African countries have gotten rid of their colonial names, and that's what we used to call Swaziland.
Got you.
That we've heard of.
Yes. Blake texted me last night. My in-laws have been to Eswatini. It's Swaziland.
Yes.
All right.
I honestly, I'm embarrassed. I'm a big maps atlas guy.
I know you're a big maps. I love my map and some atlas and some geography as well.
Yeah.
I was like, how is there a country I haven't heard of? There's only 200 of these things in the world.
Exactly.
Lastly, here we want to shout out our old colleague, Ray Grover. Had his final day on air yesterday, Blake, at Move FM. He worked in the booth beside us for the entire time that we did the afternoon show on the old 10 for 47 years in radio, and a gem of a guy. So all the best to Ray.
Between him and Bro Jake,
yeah,
we've known a couple of beauties.
Yeah, we saw Bro Jake last week, as a matter of fact, at a little party, which was great fun.
He's at 50 years and still kind of doing some work in the business still to this very day. So doing some voiceovers.
Well, he's a champ.
Yeah.
He's a champ. Says pardon. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky. Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. And keep it local.